Something's brewing at Mercedes, and it's not just the hum of their power units, it's tension, uncertainty, and possibly a huge shake-up in the making. George Russell, once seen as the heir to Lewis Hamilton's throne, now finds himself standing on increasingly shaky ground. What began as low-level whispers about Max Verstappen leaving Red Bull has snowballed into something much bigger, a narrative that could define Russell's career. With Sky Sports F1 and Formula Uno both confirming that Mercedes has entered talks with Verstappen, the writing on the wall is hard to ignore. Toto Wolff has done little to silence these rumours. In fact, he has openly acknowledged that exploratory talks with Verstappen are underway, a move that, while pragmatic, indirectly casts a shadow over Russell's long-term prospects. Despite delivering a commanding victory in Canada on sheer merit, Russell's performance hasn't proven sufficient to stabilise his position. He trails Verstappen by just 9 points in the Drivers' Championship, but that hasn't prevented speculation about his replaceability. When pressed on the situation, Wolff maintained that it is standard procedure to monitor the availability of top-tier talent. His comments, referring to Verstappen as a 4-time world champion worth monitoring, are a clear indication that Mercedes is actively strategizing for future dominance, even if that means destabilizing its current lineup. Russell, who joined Mercedes in 2022 to replace Valtteri Bottas, currently finds himself without a contract for 2026. While Mercedes has historically delayed renewal announcements, the context this time is vastly different. The public nature of their interest in Verstappen sets a precedent. Never before has the team so openly considered alternatives during renewal negotiations. The bigger question is whether it's wise to discard a driver whom Mercedes has nurtured from his junior years, especially one currently operating at his peak. Replacing him with a driver who famously denied the team a title in 2021 presents a complex narrative, blurring the lines between ambition and contradiction. Meanwhile, the emergence of young talent Andrea Kimi Antonelli adds another layer to the discussion. Many within the team see Antonelli as a potential Verstappen-esque talent in the making. Wolff has made it clear he does not intend to miss the opportunity to sign Verstappen again, should the chance arise. And though Antonelli remains a long-term project, the very mention of Verstappen hints at Mercedes' willingness to pursue immediate firepower, even at the expense of a driver they helped shape. Toto Wolff now finds himself at a strategic crossroads, an unprecedented opportunity that could redefine the trajectory of Mercedes-AMG Petronas. The potential acquisition of Max Verstappen, coupled with the rapid emergence of Mercedes junior Kimi Antonelli, presents a high-stakes proposition. The appeal of combining an established elite performer with a rising prodigy is clear, yet the volatility such a dynamic could introduce is equally significant. Regardless of the risk, indications suggest Wolff is seriously considering such a bold move. If this scenario materializes, George Russell's position within the team becomes highly vulnerable. The 26-year-old Briton is acutely aware of the potential ramifications. Addressing the rumours and Mercedes' ongoing dialogue with Verstappen, Russell took a measured stance. Mercedes wants to return to the front. To achieve that, they must secure the best drivers, engineers, and support teams. That's just part of the game, he stated. As long as I'm performing, I've got nothing to worry about. After all, each team runs 2 cars. Russell's composed response reflects not just professionalism, but also an understanding of the political and performance-driven nature of Formula One. Still, his confidence does little to silence the persistent speculation. The rumours gained further traction following comments by Zak Brown, who suggested that the silence surrounding the Verstappen-Mercedes discussions may be more telling than any official confirmation. As Brown put it, where there's smoke, there's fire. With key figures offering no clear denials, the inference is that contract talks between Verstappen and Mercedes are indeed ongoing. Sky Sports F1 pundits have also signalled growing belief in Russell's potential ousting. Karun Chandok suggested that Wolff may already have a successor in mind, should Verstappen accept the offer. That successor, by most accounts, would be Antonelli. Martin Brundle added weight to this theory, noting that Mercedes' investment in the young Italian talent could come at Russell's expense. "I believe it could happen," Brundle remarked. Toto Wolff has clearly placed a long-term bet on Kimi Antonelli, and I've heard that George has been quietly exploring options with other teams. The concern is whether Mercedes would want to put a future star like Antonelli up against Verstappen, especially when Verstappen's history shows how often he outclasses his teammates. Losing Russell, who is already part of the Mercedes family and management structure, would be a considerable sacrifice. This creates a layered dilemma for Mercedes. Opting for a Verstappen-Antonelli duo could represent a short-term masterstroke, but may also stifle Antonelli's development under the shadow of an overwhelmingly dominant team teammate. Considering Verstappen's likely timeline, he has made no secret of a potential early retirement. The move could limit Mercedes' future by investing heavily in a driver who may only stay a few more seasons. Russell, meanwhile, must now seriously consider his own future. Loyalty alone may not be enough to secure his place if Mercedes reorients its priorities around Verstappen and Antonelli. Whether this strategic gamble ultimately positions Mercedes for sustained successor, creates internal tension that destabilizes both careers, remains to be seen. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear: Mercedes is preparing for a dramatic shift, and George Russell may be its first casualty. Among the plausible alternatives, Red Bull Racing emerges as the most structurally logical destination. A direct exchange involving Verstappen and Russell would satisfy both sides and maintain equilibrium among the front-running teams. Reports suggest that preliminary discussions between Christian Horner and Russell have already taken place, exploratory in nature, but nonetheless indicative of mutual interest should external events accelerate. However, Red Bull is not the only party monitoring the situation. Aston Martin is preparing to make a serious offer to Russell, believing he could spearhead their long-term project beginning with the 2026 regulation reset. The team's technical trajectory, powered by a robust leadership core including Adrian Newey, Enrico Cardile, and Andy Cowell, combined with Honda's proven power unit pedigree, has significantly elevated their status in the sport. Their Silverstone base continues to evolve into a cutting-edge facility, positioning Aston Martin as a team with championship aspirations rather than midfield consistency. With Fernando Alonso nearing the twilight of his career, the arrival of a driver like Russell could signal a generational shift, one that aligns with Lawrence Stroll's broader vision. Of course, the long-standing presence of Lance Stroll remains an immovable piece in that puzzle due to the family connection. Yet, from a performance standpoint, Russell would comfortably assert himself as the team's de facto leader. If Aston Martin delivers a competitive package in 2026, George Russell could very realistically mount a title challenge within the next 2 seasons. The idea of pairing him with a low-pressure teammate combined with high-performance machinery sets up a scenario tailor-made for a breakthrough. This is precisely what has made Mercedes' current handling of Russell's future so puzzling. Martin Brundle has publicly highlighted the incongruity of a team captain being left in contract limbo while performing at a consistently high level. His remarks underscore the lack of transparency surrounding the Verstappen situation and suggest internal ambiguity within Mercedes' long-term strategy. Russell is a deeply embedded figure within Mercedes, Brundle noted. Since Hamilton's departure, he's stepped into a leadership role with composure and maturity. For him to remain in uncertainty at this stage of the season is unusual. The fact that neither Mercedes nor Verstappen's camp are refuting these ongoing talks only raises further questions. You cannot realistically expect to retain a driver of Russell's caliber under those circumstances without a clear commitment. Ultimately, Mercedes must determine whether short-term gain with Verstappen outweighs long-term stability with Russell and Antonelli. If Wolff proceeds without a definitive plan to accommodate all three, Mercedes risks not just losing a driver but weakening the foundation of its post-Hamilton era. And in the political chessboard of Formula One, such missteps are rarely forgiven. Ultimately, Russell's trajectory remains partially within his own control. The coming season may well define whether he cements his role at Mercedes or finds himself seeking opportunity elsewhere. As speculation intensifies, the real question is whether Russell's current uncertainty is merely a transitional phase or a sign of a deeper strategic shift at Mercedes. Time will tell if this is the beginning of a new chapter for the Briton or the end of his tenure at Brackley. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, goodbye for now.